to go through and unmute everybody toward the end of the call to field any questions you have along the way. If you do have a question that you want to interrupt us on, which you can do, to use that question feature on the toolbar on the right-hand side of your screen, type that question in there. We'll do our level best to keep an eye out for that, and we'll pose those questions to the group as well. So the various things we want to cover today, we think it's important that you should feel confident and comfortable with every carrier that you represent. So I wanted to give you a little bit more background behind Guaranteed Trust Life. The niche, the product niche and the need for a product like this in the marketplace, it is definitely there. We will compare their current offering, which is called Critical Care, and how that maps across to this repackaging of it called Critical Cash. We'll go through the plan details. We'll give you some underwriting tips to kind of lock away as you move forward with potential applicants. We'll walk you through the application, walk you through the rate book. We'll give you a couple of different sales ideas beyond just an alternate type of solution for someone who would not qualify for traditional long-term care. And John, I welcome you to jump in at any time as well.
Okay.
So GTL has been around for quite a while. They're just outside of Chicago. And what we like about them is over the past few years, their trend. Everything is going in the correct direction with them, which is very encouraging and should increase your confidence in representing a company like Guaranteed Trust Life. So again, everything seems to be trending the right way as far as their assets and their portfolio. Their surplus is growing. And you'll see here in a couple of minutes of the type of products they have to offer. They're kind of a unique carrier out there versus your traditional large insurance company. Their AM Best rating was just increased to a B++ from a B+. So they're trending the right direction. The next baby step from here will be hopefully to be an A-. So they're encouraged that their ratings are coming back up where they should be. Excuse me, and you should feel confident in representing them. They are a conservative mutual company. They're a privately owned mutual company, and with the nature of most mutual companies, they have a heavy weight in their investment portfolio in bonds. So just to show you the spread as far as how they have their investments made, it's overall a very conservative approach. So they're a niche product company. They've been in the critical illness business for quite a while. They actually have three different flavors of critical illness. They're offering critical care, which some of you may have touched and used in the past already. They have a term life product with a critical illness rider called Critical Provider. They have a cancer, heart attack, and stroke policy, a lump sum type policy. Their probably the biggest selling policy is called the Advantage Plus. It's an indemnity policy that helps offset copays for people who purchase a Medicare Advantage. They'll write between 1,500 and 2,000 policies a week during the annual open enrollment. And they do have a short-term / long-term care product called Recover Cash, which is an indemnity type offering for a plan length that is less than 1 year. So why Critical Cash? There is definitely a market. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'll jump in right here. Wanted to add just a couple thoughts on the carrier. First off, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday to you. As Dave mentioned, they do really big business in the hospital indemnity market, and as we're heading into AEP, they have, if any of you guys are in the senior market, the Med Advantage market, they've got the #1 hospital indemnity product out there. They've added a couple features this year, a short-term stay rider and a dental vision rider, and it's the best one out there. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure and give us a ring on that. They're doing like over $40 million in cancer insurance too, and they're really a good little niche player. They do student accident business. We had some of their top brass out last week into our office, and they've got a lot of ideas on the chalkboard. They're looking at hybrid life LTC product. They're looking at others in the standalone sort of simplified issue home care market, and there's other ideas. So in some ways, they frustrate us that they don't behave like a big company and systems and some things. They have their idiosyncrasies, but in other ways, really important ways, they're a great company to work with. That they get business issued, they do things quickly, and we're able to actually partner with a company like them, look at niche opportunities and create products relatively quickly to serve those needs. So they're really, really great that way. When we first came to them, we noticed something. Dave, I'll have you just sort of toggle through some screens here as I tell this story about how we came to work with these guys. And for those of you who sort of know, I have to make the assumption that not everybody knows or is working with GTL when we when we do a webinar. And there are a lot of people on the call this morning. But we came to them after making a couple of observations, and one of them was that that critical illness insurance, which was not something we were working with at all, covered a lot of the same stuff that long-term care did. In fact, covered the kinds of things that were producing the majority of long-term care claims. So Alzheimer's disease, strokes, and cancer, we know that those make, surprisingly, the majority of long-term care claims. The other thing we noticed, and this is really what got us excited, is that critical illness insurance was much easier to get issued. And so the light bulb went on as all of us who've suffered through all the changes in the long-term care industry, we've seen increased pressure on rates and really increased pressure on underwriting. So we saw an opportunity, went to them, and they saw it the way we did. And basically, we took the critical illness product, the typical critical illness product, and made some changes to it so that it could sort of play in the long-term care space. So that was really the first generation of the critical illness. We melded a critical illness product into the long-term care and called it critical care. Go ahead, Dave, advance that again, please. So we learned a few things along the way that we thought would make it better. And so we're really excited now to be in front of you today introducing the second generation of the product. Next slide, please. This, I've kind of already told this story. This slide just shows how decline rates have changed. And the slide's dated. It's all the way back in 2012. I was actually just yesterday looking at our Mutual of Omaha decline rates over time, and they're up significantly over those 2012 numbers. And we work with all the other carriers, and I haven't measured them, but I know just intuitively that they're up too. In addition to the decline rates, we know that the rate at which we walk away from people that we know we're not going to get issued, that's up too. So the point is that there's just too many people that we're not able to help, and that's really what critical care is all about. It's a different kind of product that addresses a real problem that the long-term care industry, quite frankly, isn't serving enough people. I'm going to pass it back over to you, Dave, to talk about where those underwriting niches are, if you would.
Sure. Thanks, John. Yeah, what we've discovered and learned over the last 3 years of working with GTL and the critical care product is, they're not the end-all for all of your long-term care declines, and don't assume that if you have a long-term care decline that they will get issued with this policy. But there are some niches here that are pretty common declines for traditional long-term care where GTL really doesn't have an impact on them because of the way their policy is set up. So, for example, the first one that you come across quite often is people who are on Social Security disability, or any form of disability for that matter. It really doesn't matter to GTL. Obviously, the underlying condition may have an impact on that, but Sometimes you have to walk away from somebody who's on SSDI. Your autoimmune diseases, your lupus, scleroderma, connective tissue diseases that are traditionally a no-go with long-term care carriers, again, acceptable at GTL. People using walking aids, up to and including a wheelchair. People who have ADL limitations. Remember, this is not long-term care. This is critical illness with a long-term care flavor to it. Severe back pain. You know, most carriers don't like to touch anybody with bad backs, or people currently in PT for a bad back, or maybe they're taking tramadol or oxycodone to help with the pain in that bad back. Not an issue when it comes to GTL. Mental disorders and some memory issues without having a clear diagnosis are a potential for going with this type of a product. Your osteoporosis, even with fractures, no-go, obviously, you know, with traditional long-term care. People who are taking more than 50 units of insulin per day for diabetes and have had it for longer than 20 years are eligible for the Cancer Care Plus offering on the critical cash type product. And I mentioned earlier, currently in PT, maybe you have people getting cortisone injections in joints. Cancers, recent or severe, can qualify for the Cardiac Care Plus. People who have a pacemaker defibrillator, again, can qualify for the Cancer Care Plus. That combination of an implantable device is a no-go with most long-term care carriers. Your bigger, you know, your larger type conditions, your rheumatoid arthritis using prednisone or methotrexate. Maybe taking 15 to 20 milligrams a day of prednisone. Most carriers for traditional policies will tap out at 10 milligrams per day. Narcotic use for fibromyalgia, IADL issues, post-traumatic stress disorder. But don't get the idea that, okay, you know, I'm going to throw everything at the GTL wall. They do underwrite, and as we go through the application in a little bit, you'll see that they do have heavy-duty knockout type conditions. They have enhanced their agent guide on the new product to list out some additional conditions that are knockout conditions, but not specifically addressed on the application. They're tied back to those conditions. Like, they have very broad categories, and I'll point those out when I get to the actual application. So again, it covers you where LTCi won't go. There is no ADL trigger for benefits. There is no 90-day plan of care expectation. There's no elimination period. You get diagnosed, they start writing you checks. There's no accountability for how you spend or don't spend the money you get. And again, there's no such thing as getting a licensed caregiver. The only licensing they require is if you do get confined to a long-term care facility, whether it be assisted living or skilled nursing, those facilities have to be properly licensed in the state where the client resides. So again, you get the diagnosis, you get paid right away. You get paid the base benefit initially, and then if you are confined to a facility, like say you had a stroke and you were discharged from the hospital and put into a nursing home for rehab, you would immediately start collecting that nursing home benefit from the policy for whatever plan duration you selected. And again, there are conditions that can happen to you that may not trigger a long-term care event. A heart attack is not going to not require. So if you are life and health licensed and have never bothered to take the CE training for long-term care, that would not stop you from selling this product on a standalone type basis. Hang on a second here. Hopefully, could someone please pop me a note if you're not hearing me talk right now?
Okay, Dave, I think you're back now.
Okay, I got you, John. Okay.
Yeah, good. Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's see, a couple thoughts I wanted to add to what you just said, Dave. One is, the previous slides talking about how critical illness policies, actually the triggers are easier than long-term care. Go ahead and you can just stay where you were, Dave, on the next slide, but I just wanted to say a thing. All of us in the long-term care field over time have gotten really good at nitpicking the differences between the various long-term care products, and it got to the point where we were literally making decisions on which carrier to represent based on pretty minute differences in terms of where the premiums lie. And I think our tendency in looking at something new is to find what's wrong with it first, and to always look at it through whatever lens we have. And in our case, it's a long-term care lens. And when you do that, this is kind of an odd duck. It just, it's not long-term care, and there's lots of ways you can look at it, and it becomes perfectly obvious that it's not. So we put that out there just because sometimes we walk right by the advantages when we're so busy looking at the disadvantages, if you will. Another thing I wanted to mention, Dave, that you just reminded me of as I was listening is that we took a look at the business that's been written in preparation for this meeting that I mentioned we had last week with some GTL folks that were out. And my opinion, based on what I was hearing and not necessarily based on real data and reports, was that the decline rate with GTL was increasing, and so was the rate at which they were asking for agents to go get the medical records on cases. We actually ran the reports, and I was surprised to find that we're still actually placing company-wide 80% of the apps that are coming in. That was better than I thought. I thought that they were getting significantly tighter. And I forget the number off the top of my head, but I think it was approaching 10%. Dave, maybe you saw those numbers of apps where they were asking for medical records. The other thing that we observed is that the cases where they ordered medical records, that they were issuing a higher rate than I would have expected, about half of them. So what we don't want, the reason we want you guys to really get dialed in on what they do accept versus what they don't accept is if we're just throwing stuff up against the wall and getting 3 out of 4 declined, like anybody, you just get frustrated and you find something else to do. And of course, we don't want you to have to do that. So let's see, this slide is kind of confusing, and this is one of the areas where we're actually a little frustrated with GTL. They've been rolling this product out in multiple phases, and we're used to that, but they've backtracked on a couple of things they've told us before as to being ready. So this slide shows you in green the states that are known as Phase 1 states, meaning that everything you need to write is available right now. So the paper apps are available, the electronic apps are available on their agent portal, their website, and the quoting software is also available through the agent portal. Phase 2 has been a moving target. Those are the states in gray. And just as of yesterday, I finally got something I believe we can hang our hat on now, and that is that the paper apps will be available on 10/23, and the electronic app and the quoting will be available exactly 1 month later on 11/23. You may, if any of you are in the state of Washington, and I suspect we have some of you on the phone with us, you were previously told that Washington was included in Phase 2. I found out yesterday that the rates, in fact, are not approved. So that's some misinformation that we're just going to have to deal with. Go ahead,
John, if I could interrupt for just a quick second here, too. We have quite a few people on the call from California. Welcome. This particular product is not going to be available in California. The reason why we reach out and invite you folks to join us is that we're seeing more and more agents get appointed to do more remote selling and get non-resident licenses outside of California. So that's why we've invited you to participate today. If you are only a California licensed agent and don't do business anywhere else, if you feel like you want to just go home or take off, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, if you ever consider getting into more of the remote selling, picking up non-residents throughout the country for better lead sources, you might want to hang tough with us and learn more about how you can leverage this product as well.
Okay, this next slide assumes a little bit that you know something about the old product. If you do, I want to just tell you that we've done, the changes are basically simple. That the underlying rate structure actually has not changed at all. All we've done is we've unbundled the base benefit from the facility benefit. So what it allows you to do is to buy higher facility options. And when you shift benefits from the base side of the policy into the facility side of the benefit, because it's harder to get paid in a facility, what it does is reduce rates, and it reduces them fairly dramatically, as you'll see. When we're moving benefits from the base over to the facility side, it diminishes the value of the base. And so we added a lump sum option to basically change that. So I'll give you a little bit more detail on that as we move forward here in the presentation. So what it covers hasn't changed at all. Plan A is the comprehensive plan, covers cancer, stroke, heart issues, and you guys can read what it's covered. No changes there at all in either plans A, B, or C. Go ahead, Dave. Same thing on the benefit periods. So you can choose 6, 12, 18, or 24 months. Again, no change on the benefits for cancer in situ, heart attack, and coma. They're limited to 3 months. And the benefit for coronary artery is 2 months. What was the last one, Dave?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Back up. And bypass, yeah, it's 2 months. Yeah. Okay, same thing here. The maximum benefit is still $6,000 here. So the combination, this is a little bit different. So the combination of base and facility still cannot exceed $6,000. But again, what we've done is rather than your base benefit dictating what your facility benefit is, meaning it's always double, you have no choice, we've unbundled them. So if you want to buy up to $5,500 worth of base, in that case you would have $500 left for your nursing home benefit. Or you can buy as little as $500 of base and as much as $5,500 in the nursing home. So, and again, these are cut and paste right out of the brochure. So when you get to the brochure, this will be familiar to you. Once again, no change in that the assisted living facility benefit is always half of the nursing home. So if your nursing home is $5,000, your assisted living is $2,500. Go ahead, Dave. Okay, I want to remind you that this policy does have a restoration of benefits feature. You can claim, you can get paid multiple times. So this slide can be a little bit misleading where people think you can have 3 benefits. What this is your maximum benefit is equal to 3 times the maximum payout under one benefit. Go ahead, Dave, and you'll see the math here coming up. So, for example, if you had a $1,000 monthly base and a $5,000 nursing home benefit, 24 months, multiply that together and get $144,000. That's your maximum. So your maximum lifetime benefit is 3 times that amount, or 144,000 times 3, or for 432,000. So you can have, as many benefit periods, as many different claim situations as need be to get to that total of $432,000. Now, all of us here know that, you know, most people don't, almost nobody, maybe nobody will ever get that far, but from a sales point of view, it does allow you to talk about bigger number potential, which always helps make sales. Go ahead, Dave. Okay, Dave kind of covered this, but remember that this is first day benefits. It's a cash benefit. You can use it any way you want to. You don't need to send in any sort of bills or receipts. There's no chronically ill requirement. It's really when you get sick, you get paid. That's a kind of a nice, easy presentation. Go ahead, Dave. Okay, this is just a claim example, and again, this is a cut and paste out of the brochure. So let's take a look at Bob, who purchased a $1,000 monthly base and a $5,000 facility benefit, 18-month benefit period. And let's say Bob has a stroke and stays at home for 3 months, and then is later admitted into a nursing home for 15 months. Okay, so the first 3 months upon diagnosis, he's choosing the lump sum, so he's going to get 18 months times his $1,000 base or a $1,000 check, or excuse me, $18,000 check. Then he moves into the facility for 15 months, so that's 5,000 times 15 months, or $75,000. So for this claim in this example, he'll receive $93,000. Pretty simple math. Just again, same as the old policy, it's got an optional return of premium benefit that's available to you. We don't sell a lot of it, but it's there if you want it. It's remember that it's less claims, and it's got to be before the first anniversary following the 80th birthday. All right, this is just a slide to give you a sense for the relative cost of Plan A versus Plan B versus Plan C. So I would look to the bottom of the screen, and you'll see that basically, if you're thinking about a cancer plan, and most people are concerned, they're most concerned about cancer. All of you, I'm sure, have people in your lives that have been affected by cancer. I just talked to a good friend, a business associate, yesterday, who's down at MD Anderson in Texas. I didn't know this until a couple of days ago. Another agent let me know. Cancer, and he's down there living with a friend. He's got real life expenses. They'll be down there till the end of November. And he doesn't have a policy, which is really, really unfortunate. But you can see that the cancer, the Plan B costs approximately 2/3 of what a comprehensive plan will be. And on the Plan C, the heart stroke, you'll see that there's a little bit of variability, much more variability by age, and that's just simply a function of the nature of the illness. Go ahead, Dave.
All right, John, you want me to take this back and go through the application with these guys? Okay, great. Again, it's a very simplified application process with Guaranteed Trust Life. They have a 5-question yes/no application. They do run a pharmacy check. They do run an MIB report. They can reach out to your client for a brief phone interview, just if they have a couple of questions on clarification on, say, for example, the pharmacy check. And as John mentioned earlier, in those rare 10% of the cases, they will request you to get your client to get medical records. And again, if that happens, then the APS has to be achieved at your client's own expense and initiative. So as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of things that you can go there with GTL, but there are quite a few things you just can't go there. And a lot of these categories or these conditions are kind of broad. You'll see, for example, central nervous system disease. there's a lot of different things that can fall into that category. Another one that's kind of a wherewithal fall point is respiratory or lung disease chronic, other than controlled asthma. So your COPDs, those type of things would fall into that category. So make sure you pay attention to these. So if you have a long-term care decline, and it's for one of these listed conditions, and these are pretty similar as to the listed conditions that are knockouts for traditional long-term care as well. So it's not that much different. And as I mentioned, they have enhanced the agent guide quite a bit by adding some disease or diagnoses that fall into these broad categories to better help you do some field underwriting as well. So that's the first question. So again, a yes to this question is a no-go period. And then question 2 is basically, are you currently confined to a long-term care facility? Doesn't mean you could not have been confined earlier and are now out of a long-term care facility. But then there's the 5-year question as far as drug and alcohol abuse and such. And again, then question 3 deals with, have you had an abnormal test? Have you advised to have a diagnostic test, and have yet to do so? So that's kind of a fairly innocuous question, and you're used to answer that same question on a long-term care app. 4 and 5 or 4A and B are where the yes or no's will determine which policy you can apply for. So it's the 10-year history question on cancers and the 10-year history question on heart issues, and the heart issue actually does dial in the diabetes question as well. So again, a yes to A would relegate you to the cardiac care plus, and vice versa. So a yes to B would relegate you to the cancer care plus. Something new on the new policy with GTL is they are looking at height weight now, and they do have a published height weight chart in the agent guide. For those of you who have worked with Mutual of Omaha's underwriting guide, it's pretty darn close to the upper end of class 1. So basically the insurable weight with Mutual and the height weight would carry over to the insurable weight on the critical cash. If you're in a state that is a phase 2 state, and where critical care is still up and running, you can still use that product without having to answer any height weight questions. And then you fill out the meds. And then again, depending upon how you answer these questions, any yeses to question 1, 2, 3 is a do not fly at all. And then the yes question to 4A or B will relegate you to the cancer care plus or the cardiac care plus. So John, did you want to walk them through how you go about building a policy, or would you like me to do that?
You mean on the rate book?
Rate book? Yeah, the rate book.
Yeah, go ahead and take them through it, Dave.
Okay. All right, what you'll find in the rate book looks a lot like the other rate book, but again, remember John mentioned that the base benefit is unbundled from the facility benefit. So the first decision you have to make is which policy are you pricing out. So Plan A is comprehensive, Plan B is a cancer, Plan C is the cardiac care plus. So you have to go to 2 different places to pull a rate. The first place you have to go is to pull your base rate. And the base rate is a minimum of 500 to a maximum of 5,500, broken down by age bands, anywhere from 18 to 84. So you select your monthly benefit. And then once you select your base benefit, you go and you select your nursing home benefit. And again, you've got benefit periods of 6, 12, 18, or 24 months. So these pages will repeat themselves. One page will be 6 months, the next page will be 12 months, and the following page will be 18, all the way through the rate book for Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. So again, you choose a base benefit, and then you choose your nursing home benefit. And remember, keep in mind that the combination of the two cannot exceed $6,000 per month. So here's just an example showing you, for example, if I chose a nursing home benefit of $4,500 per month for a 65-year-old on a 1-year benefit period, the annual premium for that is only $221.94. So what you'll see is that the load for the facility, like John mentioned earlier, is extremely light compared to the load for the base benefit. So you can throw together a plan if you're, as an example for a long-term care insurance alternative, of a base benefit of $500 to $1,000 per month, and then put the load on the facility side, and it's going to be a fairly attractive premium for your client to look at. And again, even bumping up to the max benefit of $5,500 really doesn't have that much of an impact on the annual premium. They do have a list in the agent guide of forbidden medications that are most commonly used to treat conditions that are uninsurable for this particular policy. Keep in mind, though, that there are some off-label uses for medications. I'll give you one example. Maripex is a very common medication for Parkinson's, but it also can be used for restless leg syndrome, and if that is indeed the case, that would be acceptable with an explanation with the application itself. They do give you a worksheet in the agent guide itself, so you can go through, and it takes you through the various steps to build out the rate for a potential client. Pretty straightforward. There is an annual $25 policy fee. There's a 50% rate up for tobacco use. Here's their new height weight chart. It's broken out by male, female, and again, as I mentioned earlier, it's fairly close to what the upper weight limits would be on at least Mutual of Omaha's traditional long-term care product. Just showing an example of 3 different ways where you can build a policy that has a net value of $4,000 per month. You can go 50-50, $2,000 on the base, $2,000 on the nursing home, and you'll see the premium there of about $3,000. I could load the base to $3,000 and back off on the facility to $1,000. Again, you'll see because the load on the base rates is higher, it's going to bump that premium up to $4,300. But if you go the other way, like I mentioned, and go light on the base and heavier on the nursing home, you'll see that it's about half the cost of going 50-50.
Yeah, this slide this slide, if you understand it, tells you basically everything we've done to the product. So the top section is the old product, if you will. That your nursing home is always double what your base is, and you don't have a choice in that. So if you remember that even with a new product, you can create that top plan, the $2,000 base and a $2,000 nursing home. If you did that, you've in effect created the old product at the $2,000 level at that price. But what we've done is we've created flexibility for you. So the second example is not really the example that we're promoting. Although if you want to go that way, by all means, go that way. And it's a better product than if you were to go into the third scenario. The reason it's a better product is it's the same money. It's for a $4,000 benefit, and the access is better. In order to get that $3,000 base, all you need is the diagnosis. In order to get the additional $1,000 in the nursing home in this scenario, you got to go to the nursing home. But since we're selling long-term care, and people, generally speaking, unless you're getting paid at home, have to go to the nursing home to get paid, it's not a foreign concept to us. So if you go to the last scenario, you really see the power of unbundling those rates. So a $1,000 base and a $3,000 facility, we've dramatically reduced the costs. And what it's allowed us to do, next slide please, Dave, is basically sell more coverage. So when we're out presenting long-term care to folks and we find that they're not eligible for what we're offering or what we're proposing because of poor health, we're usually dealing with a premium in mind, and in some cases we may have already quoted that premium. So to come back with perhaps higher premium and what may look like lower benefits, we think that was contributing to situations that made for tough sales. And so that's really what we're excited about here is we're going to be able to come back with higher benefits. So just by way of comparison to the $4,000 benefit, what we've done in this example here is we've really loaded up the nursing home to the max available under the policy, $5,500, and reduced the base all the way down to $500. And by doing that, we've actually increased the benefit potential from $4,000 a month to $6,000 a month, but we've further reduced the premium from $1,770, another $500 plus. So if you get this slide, you'll really see why we're excited about this product. This is just another way of showing you the same thing, that the premium is really sitting on the base side of the policy. That's where most of the money goes. And the reason is it's easier to get paid if you don't have to go to the facility. So if you look at age 60 to 64, or I guess jump down to the highlighted one, 70 to 74, just 8% of the premium on a $1,000 base plan with a $1,000 nursing home, just 8% of the premium is sitting on that nursing home benefit. If you go to the younger ages, you'll see that it's even less at age 60 to 64. Just a minute 4% of the premium is in that nursing home. So it gives you a whole lot of power to sell a lot of facility. Go ahead, Dave. So just a couple more slides, and Dave, if you want to just advance to the one that shows the premium, the 1530. One more. Just a couple of sales ideas. We know that there, over the course of time, decades, there are a lot of people, and this might be a typical one that you might see today, that bought coverage years ago, 15 years ago in this example. And there are a lot of people that didn't buy inflation protection for maybe a variety of reasons. So we were selling a lot bigger benefit periods, and I remember when $100 per day was sort of the cookie cutter plan that we used to sell. This is somebody who, by today's standards, might be underinsured. And it depends on what people can afford, because we like to say that, depending on people's situations, that any plan is a good plan. But this might be a person who can afford more coverage. So this is there's a lot of people out there, and we just want to plant the seed in your head that when you find people, they may be underinsured and they may have means to be able to afford more coverage, and you may be able to help them. This person would, just by virtue of age, is unlikely to qualify for traditional long-term care insurance, and you can see the benefits we've shown here. This could be a nice little sale. Next slide, please. So just the alternative to that, if you were to manage to get somebody who was insurable for traditional long-term care, if you were to try and equal those benefits to your plan at $2,000 a month, traditional long-term care insurance, this is a Mutual of Omaha quote, is $3,700. So it costs too much and you can't get it issued. That's, again, coming back to why we created this product. Remember, as we head into AEP, you may find people that you're able to help save money by moving them from a Medicare supplement plan to a Med Advantage plan, freeing up dollars that can be used to afford more protection for them in a variety of ways. Critical care could be one of them. And remember, those of you who've been around long-term care for a long time, we've got a lot of people who actually do not have assisted living coverage. We have claim disputes, and we have people that think they have ALF coverage, but they don't. And this is another opportunity. If you identify somebody who's older and doesn't have ALF coverage, critical care can be something that can help out. One other idea, and we had somebody take advantage of it, Dave Whalen. I don't know if maybe you can share the details on that. Last week, we have people with higher elimination periods using the base benefit in critical care. This is an idea to be able to plug that hole. If you do, there's a right and a wrong way to do it. Next slide, please. So this just shows you multiple ways you can create an $18,000 lump sum base benefit. You can either buy a 6-month plan with a $3,000 monthly benefit, base benefit. That would create an $18,000 lump sum benefit for $1,300 a year in premium. The right way to do it is to sell a 24-month benefit 24 months at $750 per month. Produces the same $18,000 lump sum benefit, but at a significantly lower cost. So just an idea. What we want to help you do is just think in advance of people that you might run into and situations that they may have where this product that you can get issued at a high rate and get it issued quickly and make a decent commission. Remember, the first year commissions are generous and the renewals are paid for life. So that's it. That's the new critical care.
Thanks, John. I'm actually going through and I'm unmuting everybody. So if you have me on speakerphone, please take me off speakerphone. Thank you. Okay, now the floor is open for any questions. I know quite a few questions got typed in along the way. I haven't had a chance to look at those, but if you have any questions that we may have missed, please bring it up now. I saw one where someone in Washington wanted to know, since it's not in Washington yet, do we just cruise with critical care? Yes, keep cruising with critical care until we let you know that critical cash is on the horizon. So again, those in California, if you're licensed outside of California, please take advantage of this offering. And again, any other questions out there that John and I may have missed throughout the presentation? Okay, if there are no questions, John, thanks for joining me. Hey, everybody, thanks again for joining us on a beautiful Friday morning. Hope everybody has a great weekend and make it a great week next week as well. Take care.